the smartest film critic in the world, Cole Smithy.
Hi, this is Cole Smithy with ColeSmithy.com and your guide to what to see and what to avoid at the movies this week. 300 Rise of an Empire of the sword and sandal hybrid war franchise based on Frank Miller's graphic novel fumbles through this superfluous sequel to 300. Huge sheets of splaying dark red blood splatters across the screen during gory battle sequences between half-naked, heavily muscled soldiers wielding swords to decapitate and slice open their generic rivals. The video game-inspired 3D effects come off as a novel graphic display the first couple of times you see them. By the third, fourth, or fifth go-rounds, boredom sets in. Zack Snyder, the screenwriter of both 300 movies, abdicates his directing duties from the franchise's first installment to relative newcomer Noam Murrow, known primarily for his instantly forgettable 2008 romantic comedy Smart People. Yet from its drab, saturated visual design, you would hardly notice that a different filmmaker is calling the shots. Likely an attempt to mask the film's extensive use of computer-generated imagery, the dull color palette on display has a sleep-inducing effect. It numbs the audience. The year is 480 BC, the same period covered in the first film. Whereas 300 dealt with the Persian attack on Sparta, the war is now viewed from Greece's seaside city of Athens, where the Persian warlord Xerxes' enormous armada of ships threatened to take over. It's revealed that Themistocles, played by Sullivan Stapleton, loosed the arrow that finished off the Persian king Darius during battle. Flashback sequences expose the war goddess Artemisia's troubled history of brutal abuse at the hands of her fellow Greeks, which turned her into a fierce enemy of her own people. She is widely feared for selling her soul to Death himself. Significant, too, in this revved-up cartoonish version of ancient history is the bizarre method that Xerxes, played by a returning Rodrigo Santoro, uses to transmute himself from a mere mortal to a golden-skinned god adorned with a plethora of gold chains and necklaces. For all of its brief stabs at putting the story into an historic context, 300 Rise of an Empire is too visually and aurally cluttered for much, if any, of the exposition to stick. What we do know is that Eva Green's Artemisia is the baddest warrior of them all. With Green's goth girl makeup and dangerously spiked back corset firmly in place, the bedroom-eyed French actress chews more scenery standing still than any of the film's big spectacle battle scenes combined. When Artemisia kisses the lips of a man immediately after severing his head from his body, she precedes Salome's femme fatale by 500 years. Emotionally, Artemisia is a well-oiled machine. The film earns its R rating during a rough sex scene in which Artemisia seduces Themistocles to entice him to join with the Persians. She not only takes the wind out of her lover's sails, but also hijacks the story as its most intelligent, ruthless, and lusty participant. Culminating with the Battle of Thermopylae, in which Xerxes' ships funnel into a fog-shrouded Greek trap in the Gulf of Malea on the eastern Aegean Sea, the movie compresses into a static episode. There is no pleasure to be taken from Themistocles' winning strategy because Sullivan Stapleton's portrayal is so painfully flat. Instead, we wait patiently for Artemisia to return to the screen for her final curtain call.
Choose your glory!
If only Frank Miller had written a graphic novel entitled Artemisia instead of Xerxes. Heaven knows this film only works when Eva Green is on screen. I give this flawed sword and sandal fantasy a C+. My sleeper pick is Haunt, and my guilty pleasure pick is Wes Anderson's Grand Budapest Hotel. My must-have DVDs are Roman Polanski's Tess from the Criterion Collection, Agatha Christie's Poirot Series 11 from Acorn Media, and Spinning Plates from Inception Media Group. Revolutionary at the time of its release, Billy Wilder's gothic tale of broken Hollywood dreams turned traditional noir tropes on their heads in 1950.
Just a movie writer with a couple of B pictures to his credit. The poor dope.
The Austria-born filmmaker created a drama that is droll, creepy, and brimming with insider knowledge of its already simulated milieu of has-beens and could-bes. From its irregular wraparound storyline to its perfect juxtaposition of conventional and bizarre characters, everything about Sunset Boulevard oozes tabloid ink that could be mistaken for blood in the context of a black and white film. Sunset Boulevard is a self-reflexive Hollywood satire that takes targeted shots at the industry from various angles. To avoid censorship, Wilder meted out pages of the script 3 at a time to Paramount. He knew he was pushing limits. Having lived in the Los Angeles neighborhood of the film's title during the 30s and 40s, co-writer-director Billy Wilder was intimately familiar with the area's residents. Some, like the film's insane antagonist, were retired film stars of the silent era who saw their fortunes slip away under the advent of sound to movies. Nora Desmond, played by Gloria Swanson with exquisitely camp intensity, is one such bird. Since starring in silent pictures under Cecil B. DeMille, the aging Hollywood queen of the silver screen has become a recluse. Nora lives in a rundown Boulevard mansion with her faithful chauffeur, Max, played by Erich von Stroheim. As the story unfolds, the more intimate nature of Max's relationship to Nora will be revealed. The home's unkempt swimming pool provides a watery grave for William Holden's Joe Gillis, the unsuccessful screenwriter who posthumously narrates the events of the story leading up to his death. Beaten down and broke, Joe is an everyman character who stumbles through his days writing scripts that don't sell. He plans to throw in the towel and return to his job as a copy editor in Dayton, Ohio. A pair of repo men chases Joe in his oversized convertible. A blown tire sends Joe escaping into Nora Desmond's disused driveway. Nora mistakes Joe for a casket delivery man. That the awaited chest is intended for the midnight burial of her recently deceased chimpanzee speaks to Nora's strained mental state. She's attempted suicide on more than one occasion. All of the home's interior doorknobs have been removed. Little does Nora Desmond realize that the biggest role of her life is that of a bloodthirsty vampire. Upon discovering that Joe is a screenwriter, Nora shows him a script she's been working on that she believes will restart her film career. Seizing the opportunity before him, Joe becomes Nora's kept man. She buys him fancy clothes, deluding herself that the two share a genuine romantic connection. Meanwhile, Joe slips out at night to collaborate on a script of his own with Betty Schaefer, played by Nancy Olson, a studio script reader and a more romantically suitable object of desire. The deranged Nora Desmond and her house of horrors come complete with a tuxedoed butler to serve as her Igor-styled assistant. Cobwebs and overgrown shrubbery influence the story as told by a dead man.
Anything you want to tell us.
Cameras. What is it?
Billy Wilder's deft weaving of Gothic elements, not the least of which is Nora's decrepit mansion, cast a spell from which Joe is unable to break free. He, like the audience, is stuck in a frightful place awaiting an equally terrible fate. Thanks for watching, and visit ColeSmithy.com for more.